Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clement, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, that's audacious. Hello and welcome to another episode of the That's Audacious podcast. And today I have the fabulous Michael Arnot with me. Now, Michael is an incredible business owner, but he's also the principal of Encore Speakers, which is a speaker agency and booking agency, and the leading global award-winning agency that helps place world-class talent on stages at major business events and global corporate events worldwide. But more importantly, he's also the co-founder of Mainstage. And Mainstage is a speaker business academy. It's a transformative program and an entire platform that helps hundreds of speakers from around the world to dramatically increase their commercial success. We're talking about speaker business success. And it's awesome to have you on the show today, Michael, because we've been working together for a while, but I'd really like to know your backstory as to what on earth got you started in this. What made you go, you know what, I'm going to go into the crazy wide world of managing speakers and helping them build their businesses? Why? What was the moment that made you go, I need to do that?
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here, and love chats with you. So this will be interesting, I'm sure. What got me into it in the first place? Well, originally my first business was initially when I first got into business, it was basically an event management company, right? So I used my experience as being an event manager when I was employed, or rather, should I say, employable. And I used that experience to help people create what that experience they wanted to create for people in whatever it was. And so we did a lot of industrial events, we did a lot of launches, celebrations, business awards. We worked for a lot of government organizations as well. And during that time, obviously, I'd booked a lot of speakers and also had difficulty in finding speakers. A lot of people would think that that's a bit strange. Well, look, there's lots of agencies out there. Why didn't you just use a bureau? Well, I did now and again for certain speakers, but quite honestly, people think that there is this direct link and that there is a circuit out there. You need to be on the circuit. And, you know, not to put anyone who's a speaker here under any sort of dismal dismay, but there is not a circuit. Right, there are speakers and there are speaking opportunities, and that is it. You've just and it's almost like never the twain shall meet, right? And I could see that on the one hand, you had all of these amazing people with fantastic stories to give and amazing value to give on stage, and on the other hand, you had bureaus who, whilst they may have thousands of speakers on their website, predominantly book between 10 and 30 speakers regularly, and that's their exclusives, and that's it. And it was almost like never the twain shall meet, right? And so I'd collected, you know, lots of speakers that I really respected, that I knew had great value, and more than anything else, when I put them on the stages of my clients' events, they blew the audience away. And so it seemed like a natural step for me to get into that. And I first did it with a speaker who was actually the first speaker that I ever booked, which was a guy called Jeff Ram from the UK, who's a customer service speaker, and discussed it with him, and that's where it kind of started and spiraled from there.
Wow, amazing. So do you think that's really your big point of difference as someone who works in this industry, is that you have that knowledge of what makes an event really good? So it is that marriage of, hey, I think this particular speaker is going to reinforce what you're trying to achieve with your event, which is would be a no-brainer, you'd think, but like real estate matching. But do you think what is part of your DNA, that you understand how the whole environment works?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we try and pride ourselves on. You know, even if someone was to contact us and say, I've seen Lauren Clement on your website, is she available on the 25th of December? I don't know. You'd probably say yes. You'd probably say yes. If the money's right, you'd say yes. Don't say
yeah, but if the money was right, I would, yeah.
Yeah. You know, even then, I still ask the same questions that I ask of any prospect, of anyone who's looking to run an event, and I have a deep conversation with them about what they're running, why they're running it, who's attending, what their expectations are, and what they're wanting to achieve. You know, we did so much business in the event management space when I owned that company, because we would describe the experience through the eyes of the attendee from the moment they received the invite through to them arriving at the event, enjoying the event, leaving the event, and what the follow-up would look like. And nobody else did that. Everyone just concentrated on the the logistics and the individual parts that come together. So, the marquee and the cost of that, and the AV and the and all of that stuff. And sometimes they would hide their event management costs. That would be the first line item on our quote. I'd put the event management costs straight up there, because if they didn't value the input that we were giving, then all we were was a conduit to access all of these different suppliers, and therefore you're not really adding any value. All you're doing is making it simpler. And for me, that's what we're all about at Encore, adding that value and helping people to achieve a better result than they've had before, and more importantly, get the experience they really want the people in the room to have. And I think that's a massive lesson for all speakers as well, actually. Speakers are very passionate about what they do, but the most important thing is what the people in the room are going to experience from what you're going to say to them.
Do you think that's the number one mistake that speakers make that stops them from getting booked?
Whoa. There are lots. How long have we got? There's quite a few mistakes that speakers might make in not getting booked as much, but certainly, understanding the landscape and putting themselves in the position of the event organizer themselves. So quite honestly, even when speakers do realize that they need to concentrate on the audience more than they need to concentrate on them, that's still about your on-stage performance. That's still about what you do when you're in the room. You've got a whole other job to do before you even get in the room. And you're not selling to the audience, you're selling to the person that signs the check, right? And so what problems are they going through? What situations are they in? And what are their needs? I had a client that spelled it out perfectly to me a couple of years ago when I got a phone call out of the blue, which is rare. Most inquiries come through the website or by email, but it was a phone call. And I remember that vividly because I think it was late in the day and I was on the football pitch at the sidelines watching my son play AFL. And the client said to me, look, we're a fairly small company, 150 people. We have an annual conference every year. And I would normally book some form of, team building exercise. But this year they've all demanded they want a motivational speaker. She says, "I bloody hate motivational speakers." She didn't use the word bloody, actually, but insert what you think she said here. And I thought, well, this is really good because, that's what I do. So this conversation is going to go really well. And she said, the reason is when I asked her, why do you say that? The reason is every time I've seen a motivational speaker, she said, I'm sat in the audience at the end thinking how amazing they are and how shit my life is. Right. And it just it really dawned on me. I thought, wow, that's but the best thing that she said was what she said next. And so many clients have said it since. She said, I've been looking for speakers for 2 weeks and they all look the same. Because it's easy to fall into the trap for a speaker, for them, for any business really, for them to talk about what they're passionate about, what mission that they're on, and trying to push their amazing solution out to the market when the market hasn't understood even what their problem is yet, never mind the fact that that's the solution that they need. You're not selling mobile phones or tires or car cleaning, right? We know when we need those things, that's what we need. When it's a speaker, it's something very different. And people might say, well, surely, people will know they want a leadership speaker with a particular slant on communication for that particular conference. Not at all. They will for their workshops that they have in the middle of the session, but your keynote speakers that open or close the conference, quite often they don't really care what the subject matter is. They just care that, yes, it's got business value and it's going to have impact to the people in the room and therefore a potential bottom line impact. But more than anything, what are they going to do in the room that's going to make that event electric, that's going to electrify it, that's going to give people that thought process, or that's going to motivate them, that they're not going to get from any of their internal or industry speakers.
Yeah, because that's the definition of the word keynote, isn't it? Is you're setting the tone, or you're finishing off the conference, making people walk out going, I loved that. I want to come back to the next one. I want to implement what I've learned, all those sorts of things. So right now, the speaking industry has been through some pretty horrific stuff over the last couple of years with COVID and people learning online virtual presentations and so on. Right now, what do you think the biggest challenge is for speakers in order to get consistent bookings and to build a brand that people can instantly recognize and go, yes, I want them for my stage?
Yeah, look, there's no easy answer to it in terms of, because there's so much out there, right? There's so many people that are offering quick fixes. Come and do this marketing thing, or come and do my video day and all your business dreams will come true. Or you just need to be, taken on by an agent or whatever. Look, if what you're going to do is try and chase the golden goose or whatever, and you're going to put all your eggs in that, and you're going to say, right, I just want to be one of the listed speakers with one of the main agencies, and I'm going to go exclusive with them. Well, then great, go for it. But what I can say is that this market has never been more crowded than ever. You just go on LinkedIn and put in the title speaker and see how many people have that as part of their description, how many coaches, mentors, trainers that have speaker in their title. If you really want to be one of those keynote speakers that gets booked regularly, whether it's all you want to do or whether it's that you want to just have it as part of your business, but you want to do it properly, then it's about learning the business of speaking. It's about understanding what the business process is behind it. A lot of people will say brilliant on stage is 90% of the thing. I saw it on social media recently. Someone said that. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I actually represent and book some speakers that I would say are 7 out of 10. I'm a harsh judge, right? But they're not the best speakers in the world. Yet they'll make $1 million a year this year, keynote speaking, because they know how the business works.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, putting yourself in the shoes of the person who's going to sign the check. It's like the one thing to try and figure out. It's not about me. It's about how can I make myself totally bookable, because I make it really clear what I can help you with your organization, what you want to try and achieve from that event.
I think it's actually probably easier than that, Lauren. It's actually just making yourself easy to book, right? Because this industry isn't complicated, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. Just because something isn't complicated doesn't mean that it's not easy. People that that offer speakers these silver bullets out there are trying to make it easy. They're quick wins. 30 days and you do this. You've got to build a solid business foundation by understanding how the business works, and the biggest thing out of that is just making it easy, right? Far too many speakers try and spread their net as far as they possibly can in the hope that they're going to attract more business. But the problem is, we want that laser focus on the thing that we really need for our stage, and we need to know that you are absolutely the right fit for that. And being a generalist and trying to appeal to every industry for every topic and every type of event, is just going to turn people off. And we pile our websites full of content that we think that people are going to rifle through. And I can tell you that the vast majority of personalities of the people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis in the bureau will spend 7 milliseconds on your website to try and find what they want. So if you don't impress them immediately, you've lost them. And so simplifying things, making it easy, not throwing up red flags, not taking people down little rabbit warrens, just I would say there's a brand in the UK, a brand of paint, and it was called Ron Seal, and their famous tagline was, does exactly what it says on the tin. And so if it was like 10-year outdoor paint, well, that was what it was. It was paint that would last 10 years outdoors. That's it, and that's what you've got to do. Just make it yourself easy to buy, make it uncomplicated.
Yeah, we are totally overwhelmed, aren't we, with content these days and with all our choices and everything else. Now, you are listening to the That's Audacious podcast. If you like what you're hearing, there are lots of other episodes with amazing guests. All the subscription links will be there for you. Check us out on whatever channel you listen to your podcasts on. Michael, what's been one of your biggest achievements, or one of the things you've been most proud of in terms of what you do over the past few years?
Well, as you said in your wonderful introduction that I hope I'm living up to, there's two businesses that I mainly run, and so it's hard to pick one. Maybe I'll give you one from each. On the one hand, there was a client that I work with, and now I could say working with $1 Million Roundtable, right? They have events with 10,000 people in the room, and one year I booked more keynote speakers with $1 Million Roundtable than any other bureau in the world, and that's like it's a nice. I wish I could have some letters after my name because of that, right? But actually, what I would say was the best was a much smaller client, actually an association in the education industry. And I was at their conference this year when we booked the majority of speakers and worked with them, not only on placing the speakers with them, but I was actually sat in their meetings when they were organizing what the whole thing was going to be about, right? Trying to come up with the theme and all of that. And I helped them curate the entire theme over the 3 days and place the right speakers and in the right slots, in the right places, to make sure that the thread that they really wanted to weave through achieved that. And so I went along to the event in Sydney, and picture the scene. You've got a room, that's in the Hilton, and there are 500 attendees from this association in the room, 498 females and 2 males, and I was in the bathroom. Sorry to take it to the toilet, but I was in the bathroom, and as I was in the bathroom, the 2 other male attendees just happened to be in the bathroom at the same time, and one said to the other, like blokes do when we're in the toilet, one said to the, "Oh, how are you finding the conference?" And he said, "Oh, it's great." And this is the thing I was really proud of. He said, in previous years, it's always been about how we do our jobs better or how we, sort of deal with people better. I said, but I really feel that this time it's been about developing us and things that, yes, helps us at work, but also helps build us as people. And I just thought, yes, like that. To me, that's exactly what I wanted the attendees to feel. And hearing it without asking it and hearing it third party as well in that way is something I'm really proud of.
Moment.
Yes.
Brilliant. That's in reality, that's all you ever want, and all you ever should want as a speaker, is that the people leave the event knowing that something in them has been shifted, something in them about themselves or their development or their confidence, whatever it is, that they know they can now do it. Because like you say, the opposite is, oh my God, look at that speaker, they were amazing, I could never do that. And there's this big divide between you. So what's
that's right.
What's the biggest difference for Mainstage that you've seen?
Yeah, in the other business, in my other job, I suppose that one of the biggest achievements for me would be, seeing the success of someone on the other side of what they've done. So we had a speaker that came to us who, had left corporate, was basically said, look, I've tried this speaking game. It's really, really tough. I'm finding it really hard. Before I join your program, can you guarantee it'll work for me? Because if it doesn't, I'm going to have to sell my soul and go back to corporate, and that'll just kill me. And I said, as long as you implement it, it'll work. And he did, right? He came into the program. He took everything on board. He was really coachable, right? And when I say coachable, I mean someone who is prepared to accept the sometimes hard answers to the questions that they ask, and also have faith to follow the process, and not take just the parts they think that they want to run with and hope that it's then going to work. Anyway, he implemented it, and I've now been working with that speaker actually as an agent for a few years, and he's not only saved himself from having to go back to corporate, but he's created a business that is making significant change within organizations, not just across Australia, but across the world. He's been on some really big stages. He's bought himself a nice boat from it, and it's just seeing that success that someone can have on that other side from implementing something that you can help them with is that's something I'm really proud of as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think the nice thing that I learned from the Mainstage process was that you do bring that holistic approach. It's about, yes, being a great speaker, that's fine, but it's a small part of it. It's understanding how the whole thing operates and how it works and how to position yourself. And you do have a guarantee that if people implement and it doesn't work, you will refund them their money. They've just got to implement what you teach them and they're done, right? So I don't think there's many other training programs in the speaking industry that offer that. But also, you've won awards for what you do as well. So tell me, why did you decide to enter your program in business awards?
So, I mean, for me, I think traditionally I've probably always been one of those people because, as I've said before, I've organized awards, right? I've organized business awards, and not all awards are equal, as I'm sure that you will, testify to. And I've never seen, I've always found it difficult to put myself in the limelight, to be honest. I've always been the one that's, been happy for everyone else to take the credit and for me to be the one that helps that person be who they are, do what they want to do, achieve what they want to achieve, whether it's in events or whether it's, in their business as a speaker. But what I realized is that, particularly with Mainstage, it was important that people could see that we were credible and could see that, there was a point of difference with us. And the thing that I'm particularly proud of was not just that we got a, 3 awards, but one of the awards that we got was on best business process. And that to me was the one that I really wanted. I really found that, if a panel of independent judges who don't know us from Adam can look at that business process and say, that's world class, then that was something I was really particularly proud of. But in terms of what it's done for us as a business, it's that stamp of approval, it's that acknowledgement. And I'm not here to badmouth anybody else, and I never will. I always sell what we do on what we do best. I'm not going to say don't use that agency or whatever. In fact, if a client comes to me and says, I'm looking at this speaker, are they available? What's the fee? After I've had the conversation with them, as I said, that I normally have, during that conversation, I'll ask them if they have got a price from another agency for this particular speaker. And if they have, I won't quote. Right. And my competition is not other bureaus. My competition is actually our client base. So, I've got to convince people why they should use us, not compete with, the other bureaus and agencies that are out there. And incidentally, just so that your listeners know, anyone that is a speaker, if they're interested, all of the agencies and bureaus in any market have maximum around 10 to 12% of the market. So when speakers think that just getting in with an agent is the magic wand that's going to cure all, no, 90% of the market is out there booking direct with speakers. So it's not to say that you shouldn't work with bureaus and agencies, but just be mindful that we have absolutely no control over this market whatsoever. We have just the tiniest little slice, really, of the whole pie. But for me, the award was something that could show independent validation of something that we believed strongly in, that we can evidence works through, people that have been through our program. We've had over 250 speakers through our signature program. So we can evidence, those that have implemented it well and what they've achieved. But it gives you that instant stamp of approval that I think, from a credible awards that independently someone has verified. And I love the fact that we were up against IBM. I think IBM was the one that got the gold award of that same category that year. And I thought, if we can come number 2 in business process to IBM, that'll do for me.
Yeah, brilliant. And it is something, isn't it, when you get rewarded for either your thought leadership or something that you've created or a system or a process, because then you've got ownership of that IP. And it's now got that what's it called? The intel inside, as you say, recommendation that, hey, it's not only a good thing, but it's now been judged independently to be actually pretty good. The other thing that happens, of course, with awards is people then also realize that there's value there. and that there's potentially the mechanism for you to increase your prices, to attract a high-paying client, all those sorts of things as well. Has it been a knock-on effect for you in terms of the way that your business has grown and your reputation has grown in the market?
I think the most important thing for that is how we've leveraged the awards, really. Winning the award in and of itself is not something that's really going
Thanks so much for listening
make
to
a
the That's
difference. It's a
Audacious
bit like a
podcast.
wine label
Remember,
that gets
there's
the
no
silver and the
place
bronze
for
and the
modesty
gold awards,
in
right?
business, and you do
You can't
deserve to be
deny
well
that if you
known,
like a
well
particular
paid,
type of
and
wine and
wanted.
you've never tried one
For
from
more
this vineyard,
episodes,
and they've
please
got
subscribe to the
7 stickers on
podcast
it,
on
all
your
of these
favourite
different
channel, or follow
awards
us
that
online.
they've
The links
won
are
from
in the
different
description below.
critics and tastings and so on, then that encourages you to pick up that bottle, right? So it's about how you use it. And yes, we do use it. We use it in our marketing literature. It's all over our website. It's on our email footer, that we are award winning. And I think, it's probably not going to be the only thing that someone's going to come and buy from us for. But if they're considering us versus others, at very least at a subliminal basis, there is that external credibility that we have that others might not.
Yeah, and is that the same if you had a speaker coming to you and they had that they were award winning for what they did? That as a booker, that would give you just that little bit more confidence that they can deliver?
Yeah, I think so. I think again, depending on the award and depending on what it was that they'd won, it's like having a CSP or being an author or having a best-selling book and that sort of thing. It's sort of and it's more important in different industries and it's more important in different locations as well, I would say. So there are different cultures in different countries where I think that it's more important. Certainly, I think if you are an international speaker or you have ambitions to go international and you have an international award for your speaking, then certainly I think that is an advantage. And for me, it's about the balance of credibility at the right time. So as I say, is it the thing that's going to be the only reason why someone's going to book you? No, but it might be the only reason why they know about you, depending on how you've leveraged that award, right? So if you use that in the right way and you've attracted people to you, if you've said, look, I've done all of this, this is what people get from what I do. These people independently have said that thing is really good. Then what you're doing is you're building a profile based on the credibility and justifying, externally validating what the value is of what you've got to give. Do you know what I'm saying? So from that point of view, that is what an award can give you that you're possibly not going to be able to do just on your own, because you would say your stuff's great, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's one of the key things, particularly when it comes to a speaker, is and it's anything that you have, whether you've got a book, whatever. It's how you use it and how you leverage it that's really critically important.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much, Michael. Now I've got one final question for you. Asking all our guests the same question. If you could go back to a point of your life and give yourself some business advice, what would it be?
So, oh God, there's lots. One of the things is and I was actually quite fortunate to get this fairly early on in my business career. So it's maybe it didn't originate from me, but I'm glad that I had this advice fairly early on, not as early as I maybe should have had it. When you start your own business, particularly as an entrepreneur or a sole trader, however you want to, self-employed, however you want to name yourself, some people aren't comfortable with the term entrepreneur. I'm not particularly comfortable with the term entrepreneur, even though I've established, I think, 6 or 7 businesses now. It's more for me about being enterprising, and I think anybody can be enterprising. A lot of people say not everyone's built to be an entrepreneur. Well, if you mean wearing Rolex watches, driving a Lamborghini on the back of a yacht with champagne flowing, then yeah, not everybody is. But I can guarantee you that there's a tiny minority of people that reach that level. And if that's what your priority is, then I think your priorities are all wrong. For me, it's about providing for my family and trying to live the life that I can live, where I enjoy doing what I do. And so my biggest advice would be, if you really want to build a successful business, whether it be in speaking or anything, it's critical that you don't fall into the trap of trying to hold everything precious to you. So you think you've got this idea that nobody else has had, or you've got this way of doing something, or whatever it is that you just want it to be for you because this is your business and you should own it. But if you really want something that's going to scale to any level, you've got to partner quicker. Because the quicker that you partner with the right people, and that's a critical part of it, choose your partners well. I haven't always done that, but choose your partners well. That's a critical part, that if you partner quicker, you'll realize that, you know, the sum of two people working on something together and then someone else, all of a sudden it becomes, and I'm not talking about necessarily business partners. I'm not talking about bringing in employees. I'm talking about, you know, I'll give you an example. I used to work in enterprise and I helped really small businesses promote themselves. And one of the things they did was leaflet drops. And they would put leaflets out there. And what I realized is that most businesses would get a leaflet printed and the back of it was blank. Right? Nothing on the back of the leaflet. So you've got a carpet cleaning business on the one side, right? And you turn it nothing on the other. Well, why doesn't a plumber or a gardener or someone print on the other side? They can split the cost, and all of a sudden, you know, they're halving the cost of their efforts to be able to promote to the same people, and they're not competing. They're actually augmenting the offers. And so that's one of the things that I did. It's one of the campaigns that I did when I was an enterprise coordinator, and I helped businesses realize that working together, some of their efforts would achieve much more. Now we know leaflet drops get 0.5% return. That's not the point, but the point is that you can see that, you know, in that example, partnering quicker and working with other people can not just save you costs, but can help you scale much, much quicker.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. This is such a fabulous alignment with speaking and partnerships, because you do have to be in partnership with everybody, with the person who books you, with the audience, with the agency that might book you as well. There has to be this synergy around wanting to all create an event that people walk away from stoked that it's just been the best. So yeah, love it.
Well, that's why I've been really privileged. Every day I spend time with amazing people that have got fantastic messages that really, really can change the way that people think and feel. And I also deal with people, on the other hand, who genuinely want to create memorable experiences for their people in the room. And so, yeah, and the undiagnosed ADHD me likes the project-based thing, that it's always different every day. So I like that too.
I love it. Absolutely. Thank you, Michael, for being on the show today. If you want to know more about Mainstage, check out their links. They'll all be below. There's also links there to help you really launch your speaking business, to sustain it, to grow it, and to become a really well-respected partnership, if you like, as a speaker, but growing your brand and your profile as well. So thank you, Mike, for being on the podcast. It's been awesome to chat with you about how you can grow your profile as a speaker and your insight from where you've come from and what you're doing to help others. So thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favourite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.